Mississippi Delta, a land of cotton fields and sweltering heat, birthed a legend steeped in blues and shadowed by the devil's touch. Robert Johnson, a name whispered in awe and fear, a musician whose talent transcended earthly explanation. They say he made a pact, a bargain struck at the crossroads under a moonless sky. His soul traded for mastery of the guitar, a price paid in the currency of eternal damnation. The crossroads, a place where worlds collide, where the veil between the living and the dead grows thin. It was there, they say, that Johnson met a shadowy figure, a being of darkness with eyes that burned like hellfire. The devil offered him a gift, a chance to become the greatest bluesman the world had ever known. All he asked in return was Johnson's immortal soul. The young musician, consumed by ambition, agreed to the devil's terms. His fingers, once clumsy and unsure, now danced across the guitar strings with supernatural dexterity. Notes, imbued with the raw emotion of the Delta blues, poured forth, captivating all who heard them. Johnson's music, a fusion of earthly sorrow and otherworldly power, became a testament to his pact, a chilling reminder of the price of his newfound talent. He sang of love and loss, of pain and redemption, his voice carrying the weight of 1,000 lifetimes. His songs, filled with cryptic lyrics and haunting melodies, hinted at the darkness that consumed him, the ever-present shadow of his infernal bargain. His fame spread like wildfire, his music echoing through the juke joints and dance halls of the Delta. But with each performance, the devil's grip tightened, drawing him closer to his inevitable fate. They say Johnson's music carried a curse, a chilling reminder of the pact he had made. Those who listen too closely, who delve too deeply into the darkness of his blues, risk being consumed by the same infernal power that fueled his talent. And then, one fateful night, as Johnson played his final song, the devil came to collect his due. On the wind-swept shores of Cape Henlopen State Park, where the Atlantic whispers ancient secrets to the rugged cliffs, there prowls an eerie phenomenon known as the corpse light. To the untrained eye, it might appear a beacon of safety, a lighthouse guiding weary travellers home. But to those familiar with its cursed history, it is a harbinger of doom, a deceptive glow that leads only to despair and death. The legend of the corpse light began in the fog-laden nights of the 18th century, a time when smugglers and pirates frequented these waters, weaving through the treacherous shoals and hidden reefs. It is said that one fateful night, a band of smugglers, heavy with illicit cargo, spied a light gleaming through the dense fog. Believing it to be the lighthouse, they steered their vessel towards it, hearts light with relief. But as they drew closer, the light mysteriously vanished, leaving them to the merciless embrace of the rocks. The ship was shattered, swallowed by the hungry sea, and all hands were lost to the depths. From that night on, the corpse light appeared sporadically, always to unsuspecting sailors, its ghostly glow a false promise of safety. Tales spread of a spectral lantern held aloft by a shadowy figure clad in the tattered remnants of colonial garb, doomed to forever reenact his treachery. Some whispered that he was the spirit of a lighthouse keeper who had conspired with pirates, others that he was a wronged sailor, seeking vengeance against those who sailed these cursed waters. Local folklore insists that to see the corpse light is an omen of impending disaster. Fishermen refuse to set sail if the is seen, and sailors mutter prayers when passing the Cape after dusk. It's not just the beacon that terrifies them, but the sudden cold that seeps into the bones at its sighting, and the inexplicable malaise that descends upon the beholder. On stormy nights, when the thunder rolls and lightning illuminates the sea, the corpse light dances across the waves, elusive and taunting. Some brave souls have tried to follow it, to uncover its origins or end its spectral wanderings, yet none have succeeded, and many have not returned, their fates whispered in hushed tones in the local taverns. The corpse light remains one of the most chilling legends of Cape Henlopen, a reminder of the sea's dark power to enchant and ensnare. It continues to haunt the coastline, a phantom lighthouse that guides not to safe harbour, but to a watery grave, its mournful light a testament to the souls it has claimed. Welcome to tonight's story, The 27 Club, a calming tale of famous artists lost too soon. Relax, let go, and drift peacefully as the legend unfolds. The 27 Club is an infamous urban legend, suggesting that a disproportionately high number of famous musicians, artists, and celebrities die at the age of 27. This belief stems from the deaths of several well-known figures in music and art, who all tragically passed away at this age. Among them are Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones, iconic guitarist Jimi Hendrix, soulful singer Janis Joplin, punk vocalist Mia Zapata, The Doors frontman Jim Morrison, Nirvana's Kurt Cobain, painter Jean-Michel Basquiat, and most recently, singer-songwriter Amy Winehouse. The idea behind the 27 Club first gained traction in the early 1970s, especially following the deaths of Hendrix, Joplin, and Morrison, who all died within a short span between 1969 and 1971. Their youth, extraordinary talent, and sudden demises at the same age fed into the myth, making it seem like there was a pattern or curse surrounding the number 27. As more artists joined the list over the years, particularly Kurt Cobain in the 1990s and Amy Winehouse in 2011, the legend became more widely accepted in popular culture. However, despite the eerie coincidences, the notion that there is a statistically significant spike in celebrity deaths at age 27 has been debunked numerous times. Several studies have analyzed the ages of musicians' deaths and found no unusual pattern at this specific age. While the deaths of these iconic figures are tragic, they reflect a broader issue of the high pressures and risks that often come with fame, including struggles with substance abuse, mental health issues, and the chaotic lifestyle of the entertainment industry. The 27 Club endures in part because of society's fascination with early death and the romanticization of tortured artists who burn brightly before extinguishing too soon. While it's tempting to believe in a mysterious pattern or curse, the reality is that these talented individuals' deaths were the result of human vulnerabilities rather than supernatural forces or statistical anomalies. In the end, the 27 Club remains more of a myth, fueled by coincidence than an actual phenomenon. Hidden within the eerie expanse of Maple Hill Park in Huntsville, Alabama, lies a playground that few dare to visit after dark. Known as the Dead Children's Playground, it sits in the shadow of Maple Hill Cemetery, where countless lives were lost during the brutal Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. Many of these were children, tiny lives cut short by the merciless wave of illness that swept through the town. cemetery, just steps away from the playground, where swings now creak and echo through the night. As dusk falls, a haunting atmosphere descends upon the playground. Locals warn that the children who perished here never truly left. Strange occurrences have been reported for years. Swings move on their own, the rusted chains rattling as if gripped by invisible hands. In the sand beneath the slide, visitors find tiny footprints that appear suddenly and disappear just as mysteriously. Some who pass by in the evening hours have claimed to hear faint giggles or the distant sound of children calling out, voices carried on an unsettling breeze that seems to chill the very air around it. Witnesses describe seeing shadowy figures darting between the playground equipment, flickering in and out of sight like fading memories. A few brave souls have even claimed to catch glimpses of ghostly children, their pale forms just visible in the moonlight, with hollow, haunting eyes fixed on the swings. Others report feeling an icy touch on their shoulders or a tug at their clothing, as if tiny hands were reaching out, desperate to play just once more. Despite the renovations and new equipment, the playground remains a place haunted by sorrow and loss, as if the spirits of the past refuse to let go. It's said that the restless souls of these children are bound to this place, forever drawn to the playground. They never had the chance to truly enjoy in life. Visitors leave trinkets, small toys and flowers by the swings, hoping to soothe the spirits that linger. For those who know the tale, the Dead Children's Playground is not merely a place for children's laughter, but a portal to something darker. A reminder that some places are scarred by history, with memories and spirits that will not fade, even as time moves on. In the quiet town of Dover, Massachusetts, nestled among winding roads and dense woods, a terrifying legend emerged over 2 nights in April 1977. It was here, in the dark shadows and eerie silence, that a creature known as the Dover Demon first appeared, a sight so chilling that its image still haunts those who witnessed it, and its legend has woven itself into the fabric of local lore. On the night of April 21st, 3 teenagers were driving along Farm Street when one of them, a 17-year-old named Bill Bartlett, caught sight of something unusual at the edge of his headlights. At first, he thought it was a small animal crouched along a stone wall, but as he focused, he realised this was no animal. Staring back at him was a figure unlike anything he'd ever seen. Small, barely 4 feet tall, with a large bulbous head, too big for its thin, fragile-looking body. Its skin was a strange, pale, almost chalky colour, and it had long, thin limbs that seemed unsettlingly out of proportion. The most disturbing detail, however, was its eyes. Large, glowing orange orbs that seemed to reflect back the light, piercing and unnatural, as if they were staring straight into his soul. Bartlett froze, watching as the creature clung to the rocks with an almost human grasp, its long fingers wrapping around the stones like a spider's legs. For a brief moment, the two locked eyes, and an intense wave of fear washed over him. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, the creature scuttled into the woods, vanishing into the night. Shaken, Bartlett told his friends about the encounter, but it didn't end there. The very next night, another sighting occurred, this time by a 15-year-old boy named John Baxter, who was walking home along Miller Hill Road. He described seeing a similar creature standing by the trees, watching him with those same haunting eyes. Baxter tried to approach, but the figure slipped into the shadows, melting into the woods with an unnatural silence. Terrified, Baxter fled, convinced he'd encountered something otherworldly. The following night, yet another teenager, Abby Brabham, reported reported seeing the same creature while driving near Springdale Avenue. Her description matched the others. An eerily pale, thin figure with a head too large for its body and those unforgettably large glowing eyes. By now, the sightings had spread through the small town, sending chills through the community and sparking wild speculation. Over time, the stories evolved, with locals suggesting all kinds of explanations. Some believed it was an alien, a visitor from another world, accidentally stranded in Dover, while others were certain it was some undiscovered creature lurking in the New England woods. Paranormal enthusiasts speculated that it was a being from another dimension, slipping in and out of our reality, leaving only fleeting glimpses and unsettling memories. But for those who saw it, the Dover demon was real, a creature they could never unsee. The sighting sparked fear, yet a morbid curiosity lingered. Some residents ventured into the woods with flashlights, hoping to catch a glimpse of the creature. But the Dover demon never showed itself again. It had left its mark, a shadow of dread that hung over Dover's quiet streets, yet its absence only deepened the mystery. Skeptics dismissed the encounters as the result of overactive imaginations or youthful hysteria, but those who witnessed it knew the fear was real, a gut-wrenching terror that could not be explained away. To this day, the Dover demon remains a chilling mystery, an enigma that defies explanation. Sightings have faded, but the story endures, passed down through generations as a ghostly reminder of something that walked among them, something that did not belong. The children of Dover grow up hearing the legend, warned not to wander too far into the woods at night, for fear of encountering the creature with the orange eyes. And on dark, moonless nights, some claim they still see strange shapes moving at the edge of the forest, a fleeting shadow with glowing eyes that vanish the moment you try to focus on them, whether it was a visitor from another realm or simply a trick of the dark. The Dover demon has carved its place in the dark folklore of Massachusetts, a ghostly figure forever haunting the wooded paths of Dover. Those who walk these paths feel a chill in the air, an unshakable feeling that something is watching, waiting just beyond sight, with hollow eyes and a chilling stare that pierces through the night. The Dover demon may be gone, but his legend lives on, a tale of terror and mystery, warning all who listen. Sometimes the darkness holds more than shadows, and some creatures are never meant to be seen. In the dark, frozen winter of February 1855, the people of East and South Devon awoke to a scene that would haunt them for years. As dawn broke, a trail of strange, unearthly footprints marred the fresh snow, weaving through the landscape with an unnatural precision. These prints, soon to be called the Devil's Footprints, left a mark of terror and mystery across Devon, as villagers whispered tales of the devil himself stalking their lands. The footprints were unlike anything seen before. They stretched in a single line, each print spaced with eerie regularity, each one an unmistakable hoof shape, cloven and pointed, as if made by a creature far from this world. Stranger still, the prints were measured precisely 8 inches apart, suggesting a creature that moved with unerring speed and purpose. They crossed through fields, over rivers, and even appeared on rooftops, ignoring natural obstacles as if they were nothing. No walls, hedges, or even snow-covered thatched roofs hindered the path of these prints. It was as though something had passed through Devon, defying the laws of nature and mocking human understanding. The villagers were gripped by fear. Some claimed it was a demon, or perhaps even Satan himself, paying a visit to remind them of his presence. Priests were called to bless homes, while locals huddled around fires, hoping that warmth and prayer might keep Those who dared to follow the footprints were led through twisted paths, only to find themselves back where they started, as if the creature had moved in circles, toying with its pursuers. Sightings of strange, shadowy figures spread rapidly. A farmer reported hearing faint, mocking laughter as he walked alone through the woods one night, his eyes catching a fleeting glimpse of a dark form in the trees. Another villager swore that she saw a pair of glowing red eyes watching from her window, disappearing only when she crossed herself and muttered a prayer. Tales like these fueled the belief that the devil's footprints were not just a physical presence, but a sign of something deeply sinister lurking just beyond sight. The phenomenon lasted for a single, harrowing night, the footprints stretching for miles before they abruptly vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared. In the days that followed, the snow melted and the tracks faded into legend, yet the fear remained. People spoke of it in hushed tones, glancing over their shoulders, as if expecting the devil to return, his footprints renewed in fresh snow. To this day, no one has explained the devil's footprints. Were they a prank, a trick of nature, or something far darker, a message from the underworld itself? The villagers of Devon may never know, but one thing is certain. On cold, moonlit nights, when the winter's silence deepens, deep in the shadowed woods of Beltsville, Maryland, there is a presence that stalks the trees, a creature born from nightmare and whispered in fear. Known only as the Goatman, this monstrous entity is said to roam the dark corners of the forest, a grotesque blend of man and goat, with a body that twists the very essence of nature into something unnatural and terrifying. The Goatman is no mere animal. Its towering frame is covered in matted, twisted fur, and its legs are bent at strange angles, ending in hooves that scrape across the forest floor like nails on a chalkboard. Its face is the true horror, half human, half goat, its eyes glowing with an eerie, unnatural light, and its mouth full of sharp, blood-stained teeth that gleam in the moonlight. The creature is said to stand upright like a man, but its movements are unsettling, jerking and twitching as though it's not quite alive. The legend of the Goatman has existed for generations, though its origins are as elusive as the creature itself. Some say it was created in a dark ritual, a twisted experiment gone horribly wrong, while others claim it is the spirit of an ancient, vengeful being. Whatever its origin, the Goatman is not a creature to be trifled with. Its most chilling attribute is its penchant for killing. The Goatman is often blamed for the mysterious deaths of livestock, particularly dogs. The bodies of the animals are found mutilated, their throats torn open or their bones snapped in grotesque ways, as though something with immense strength and malice is at work. But the creature is also said to hunt humans, especially those foolish enough to venture too deep into the woods after dark. There are stories of hikers and campers who vanished without a trace, their only clue being a series of strange cloven hoof prints that lead into the heart of the forest and disappear. As the legend goes, if you venture into the woods on a quiet, moonless night, you might hear something strange. The sound of heavy breathing, the snap of twigs, and the unmistakable clack of hooves on the ground. Some say the Goatman will watch from the shadows, its eyes burning through the darkness, waiting for its next victim. Others claim they've heard its voice, a deep guttural growl that sounds almost human, but laced with a primal rage. The woods of Beltsville are not a place for the faint-hearted. For those who do venture in, remember this: the Goatman is never far, and if you hear that heavy breathing behind you, it may be the last thing you hear. lore of baseball history, there is one story whispered among fans that never loses its grip: the curse of the Bambino. The legend began in 1919 when the Boston Red Sox, champions of the World Series, made a grave mistake that would doom them for nearly a century. Seeking funds, the team's owner, Harry Frazee, sold their star player, Babe Ruth, to their bitter rivals, the New York Yankees. Known as the Bambino, Ruth was not only Boston's greatest asset, but a force that seemed blessed, touched by an otherworldly power. But this sale was no ordinary transaction. It was a betrayal, an offence to the very spirit of victory. Soon after, Boston's golden age faded. For the next 86 years, as Babe Ruth's star rose with the Yankees, the Red Sox were plagued with failure after failure, each season bringing cruel heartbreak. Fans began to believe they were cursed, haunted by Ruth's ghost, vengeful and unrelenting. They whispered that he had cursed the team, binding them to an endless cycle of defeat, an eternal punishment for the betrayal. The curse of the Bambino was born, and the city felt the shadow of dread every time their team reached the brink of victory, only to be torn down as if by some unseen, malicious hand. Terrifyingly, the curse seemed to manifest in bizarre ways. Balls veered off course at the last second. Players fumbled as if gripped by an invisible force. Even the stadium lights flickered ominously during critical moments. Fans watched with growing unease, knowing something dark loomed over their team. Game after game, year after year, hope turned to horror, then despair, as Boston's beloved team fell to seemingly supernatural misfortune. But in 2004, the impossible happened. The Red Sox, against all odds, won the World Series, breaking the curse. The city rejoiced, yet some fans remained haunted. They wondered, did they truly break the curse, or merely awaken it? In the shadows of Terrell, Texas, whispers and warnings have woven a chilling legend through the generations. A tale that clings to the fringes of nightmare and reality. They call her the Candy Lady, but behind the innocuous name lurks a sinister spectre named Clara Crane, whose story has haunted the town for over a century. The legend began in the early 1900s, when children in Terrell started to vanish without a trace. Desperate parents scoured the land, dredging the creeks and combing through the thickets, but none could unearth any sign of their missing offspring. As the community groped for answers, a disturbing pattern emerged. Children reported finding candies on their windowsills, pieces of caramels wrapped in crinkling parchment paper, with tiny notes urging them to come out and play. The notes were always signed with a simple, eerie C. Whispered tales from older folks traced the unsettling gifts back to Clara Crane, a woman once known among the townsfolk. Clara, they said, had lived on the fringes of Terrell, a reclusive and peculiar widow, whose only solace after the death of her abusive husband was her young daughter. Her life spiraled into darkness when her daughter mysteriously died, with local gossip suggesting foul play. The town shunned her, whispering that she had gone mad with children of Tyrrell for her loss, believing they had enticed her daughter into some fatal mischief. After her daughter's death, Clara vanished into obscurity, leaving only the decrepit shell of her home as a testament to her existence. But the story of the Candy Lady did not end with her disappearance. It was as if her spirit, unquelled by death or reason, continued to seek vengeance. The candies kept appearing, each piece an eerie invitation from beyond the grave. The most unsettling accounts involve letters found with the older children, written as if Clara herself were conversing with them from the shadows. These letters were more sinister, promising the children their fill of sweets in life and in death. It was as if Clara was crafting a congregation of souls, luring the innocent with sugar-coated deceit. Late at night, when the moon cast a ghostly glow across the fields, some claimed to see a figure near the edge of the woods, a silhouette of a woman in a tattered gown, her face obscured by the darkness. They said it was Clara, watching, waiting for her next child to claim. Those who dared to venture too close to the woods at night reported hearing the soft, unsettling melody of a lullaby drifting through the trees, only to be swallowed up by the suffocating silence of the unseen. To this day, the legend of Clara Crane, the Candy Lady, lingers in the air of Tyrrell like a thick fog. Parents tightly secure their windows, wary of the old tale, and remind their children to steer clear of the sweets that might appear unbidden. As Halloween approaches each year, the tension in the town tightens, a collective memory of the loss stirring in the hearts of those who remember. And so, the community watches and waits, the legend of Clara Crane etched deep in their bones, a spectral reminder that some tales are too chilling to be forgotten, and some spirits too vengeful to rest. In the shadowed peaks of California's Santa Lucia Range, there exists a haunting legend that has persisted for centuries. Known as the Dark Watchers, or as early Spanish settlers called them, Los Vigilantes Oscuros, these mysterious figures are said to lurk among the cliffs and ridges, observing anyone who dares wander too close. They are tall, towering silhouettes, human-like, yet somehow larger than life, standing motionless against the horizon, watching in silence. No one knows who or what they are, or why they appear, but every sighting comes with a feeling of dread, as if these dark sentinels hold secrets that mortals were never meant to uncover. Travellers who venture into the mountains often report a strange sense of being watched, even when alone. As they scan the landscape, they see them, figures draped in darkness, always at a distance, their outlines clear, but their features impossible to discern. They wear what appear to be long cloaks and wide-brimmed hats, though some say the figures shift and blur if looked at too long, fading into shadows, as if they were never there at all. Yet they reappear moments later, always at the edge of sight, still watching, waiting. Many believe that the Dark Watchers are ancient spirits, protectors of the mountains, or perhaps remnants of a darker time, cursed to roam these peaks eternally. Legend has it that they don't take kindly to those who venture too deeply into their territory. One story tells of a hiker who, upon noticing a figure in the distance, approach it. As he drew closer, he felt an icy chill spreading through his body, a whisper on the wind urging him to turn back. When he ignored it and moved forward, the figure seemed to grow taller, its shadow stretching, consuming the very light around him. Panicked, the hiker ran, but the feeling of the watcher's gaze followed him, haunting him for years afterward. Another tale describes a group of campers who spotted a dark watcher at dusk, outlined against the setting sun. They watched in terror as it seemed to raise an arm, pointing directly at them, though no face could be seen. That night, the campers awoke to strange sounds outside their tent. A soft rustling, like fabric brushing against stone. In the morning, they found strange footprints around their camp, impossibly large, yet vanishing abruptly, as if the entity had simply melted into the mountain itself. People say that the dark watchers cannot be approached or interacted with. Those who have tried to take photographs or call out to them find that their equipment malfunctions, their voices swallowed by the stillness. The watchers simply observe, their intentions unfathomable, as if bound by a purpose known only to them. Locals warn hikers to leave offerings if they must enter the mountains. In South Korea, a strange and unsettling legend has persisted for nearly a century, a chilling warning whispered among families on hot summer nights. Beware of sleeping with a fan running in a closed room, or it may claim your life. Known as fan death, this belief insists that an electric fan left on overnight in a windowless room holds the power to kill, suffocating the sleeper in their bed. The origins of fan death stretch back to the 1920s and 1930s, an era of modernisation and new technology when the electric fan first arrived in Korea. Stories began to spread of people found dead in their rooms, the only constant a fan whirring beside them. The legend took on a life of its own, with families firmly convinced that a fan could drain the oxygen from a room, causing asphyxiation or lower body temperature to fatal levels. It became a superstition rooted in fear, and warnings echoed from generation to generation. Never sleep with the fan on, and always leave a window open. To this day, the fear remains ingrained in Korean households. In July 2011, the Korea Herald reported that a 59-year-old man had died mysteriously, with a fan aimed directly at him in his sealed room. It was as if the fan, silent and unseen, had become an executioner, waiting patiently for its victim. Some believe the fan spins like a sinister reaper in the dark, sapping the life from those who sleep too deeply under its cold breeze. Many scientists have dismissed the legend, but the fear lingers, and tales continue to circulate of those who ignore the warning, only to fall victim to the fan's deadly hum. The myth of fan death endures, a strange yet terrifying belief that leaves many cautious even today. Perhaps it's not merely a tale of superstition, but a reminder that some forces, once unleashed, carry a chilling weight that no science or reason can dispel. In the shadow-laden landscape of American folklore, few tales evoke the chill Across the United States, numerous bridges bear this macabre nickname, each story rooted in a haunting event so sorrowful that the echoes seem to transcend time itself. These structures, often decrepit and isolated, are united by the eerie phenomenon of phantom infant wails that pierce the stillness of the night. One such bridge looms on the outskirts of a small, weathered town, cloaked in the thick mists that rise from the river below. Local legend has it that many decades ago, a young mother, driven by despair and madness, threw her newborn child from the bridge into the icy waters beneath. They say she was consumed by grief and torment over her deed, and that her wails mingled with those of her child in a symphony of anguish. Overcome by remorse, she leapt to her own death, hoping in vain to join her child in the depths. Since that fateful night, those who dare to walk the bridge after dark report hearing the harrowing sounds of a baby's cries, so real and so close that they turn in desperation, searching for the child they can never find. Some also hear the ghostly lament of the mother, a mournful wail that drifts across the river and settles like a cold shroud upon the hearts of the listeners. The Crybaby Bridge has become a rite of passage for the local youth, a test of courage or foolhardiness. Teenagers gather in hushed groups, their voices low, as they dare one another to cross the bridge at midnight. Armed only with flashlights that cast long, ominous shadows, they step onto the creaking wood, each plank groaning under the weight of the grim history it bears. As they reach the centre, where the river runs darkest, the cries begin. At first, a soft whimpering, it soon swells into a crescendo of screams, so visceral that many flee in terror, swearing never to return. Others speak of seeing a spectral figure of a woman, her gown flowing and pale in the moonlight, her arms reaching out for the child she will never hold again. Cameras and phones, intended to capture proof, inexplicably fail, leaving only the memories of those haunted by what they have experienced. The Crybaby Bridge serves as a stark reminder of the past's grip on the present, its story passed down through generations as a chilling warning. It is a place where the boundary between this world and the next is thin, where sorrow and tragedy are etched into the very landscape, and the cries of the lost are never far from earshot. In the shadowed corridors of the uncanny, where art meets the supernatural, there echoes the unsettling legend of the crying boy. This painting, a mass-produced print by the Italian artist, known both as Giovanni Bragolin and Bruno Amadio, has stirred whispers of a curse since it first appeared in the 1950s. The portrait, depicting the tear-streaked face of a young boy with deep, sorrowful eyes, became a common fixture in homes across Europe, initially cherished for its poignant depiction of innocence and grief. Yet, beneath the surface of this seemingly benign artwork, darker forces seem to lurk. The legend began to take shape in the 1980s, when a series of mysterious fires devastated numerous homes throughout England. Amidst the charred ruins, firefighters made a chilling discovery. While the flames consumed almost everything in their path, the prints of the crying boy survived unscathed. In one house after another, the painting was found amongst the ashes, its glass cover often the only thing left intact. These bizarre occurrences were first reported in a 1985 article in the Sun newspaper, which chronicled the strange phenomenon, igniting widespread fear and superstition. The tale grew more sinister with each telling. It was said that the boy in the painting was a foundling, taken in by Amadio, who discovered the child weeping beside the smouldering ruins of a building that had claimed his parents. Moved by his plight, Amadio captured the boy's eternal sorrow on canvas. However, dark rumours swirled that the artist had exploited the child's curse, for the boy was no ordinary orphan. Legend had it that wherever he resided, fires of unknown origin would inexplicably ignite. As the cursed painting's fame spread, so did accounts of misfortune attributed to it. Owners of the print reported inexplicable series of bad luck, with numerous testimonies of personal tragedies that befell those who displayed the painting in their homes. Some spoke of hearing the soft sobs of a child at night, the cries echoing through hallways, only to find the painting's eyes brimming with tears, as if the boy mourned not only his fate, but also that of those who gazed upon him. Frightened by these tales, many sought to rid themselves of the painting, yet disposing of the crying boy proved no simple task. Stories emerged of the prints being found intact at local dumps, or returning to hang on the walls they had once adorned, despite being thrown away. Others who attempted to burn the painting found that it resisted the flames, the boy's face peering out through the fire, his tears reflecting the inferno around him. Some curious souls, skeptics of the supernatural, delved into the painting's history, seeking rational explanations. They proposed that the varnish used by Amadio might have been flame retardant, a common practice among painters who wished to protect their work. Yet, no scientific explanation could fully dispel the aura of dread surrounding the image. The legend of the crying boy took on a life of its own, a modern myth that mingled fact with folklore. It became a cautionary tale about the objects we choose to bring into our homes, about the unseen energies they might carry. It warned of the grief that could spill from canvas to reality, a sorrow so profound it seemed to transcend the boundaries of art and enter the realm of the paranormal. Today, the crying boy hangs in the shadowed corners of antique shops, in online auctions, and sometimes, still, on the walls of those who either do not know its story or who defy the curse to court disaster. Whether a true bearer of misfortune or merely a subject of one of the most unsettling urban legends of the 20th century, the painting continues to fascinate and frighten, a testament to the power of art to move, to disturb, and perhaps to curse. In the eerie world of haunted relics, few objects instill as much dread as the Dybbuk box, a small, unassuming wine cabinet steeped in sinister legend. Originating from Jewish folklore, a Dybbuk is a restless, malicious spirit believed to cling to objects or people, feeding off their misery and fear. The Dybbuk box is said to contain just such a spirit, bound within its wooden walls, waiting for the next unfortunate soul to open it. The box first gained infamy when it surfaced in an online auction, accompanied by the chilling story of its previous owner, who claimed his life was plagued with misfortunes and nightmarish experiences after acquiring it. According to the tale, the box was originally bought by a young man at an estate sale. When he opened it, he found strange items inside: locks of hair, a small goblet, a candlestick, and engraved Hebrew inscriptions. But it wasn't the items inside that terrified him. It was what followed. From the moment the box entered his home, strange occurrences began. Foul odours of decaying flowers and ammonia filled the air. Shadowy figures appeared in his periphery, and the eerie sound of faint whispers echoed through the night. Soon he began having violent, unexplainable nightmares of an old, hateful woman lurking at the edge of his bed, her eyes burning with malice. Each morning he drained, as if the spirit had sapped his very life force. The Dybbuk box changed hands many times, with each new owner reporting the same ominous symptoms, unrelenting nightmares, accidents, and a pervasive, sickening dread. One owner even suffered a sudden stroke shortly after acquiring it, convinced that the spirit trapped within the box had cursed him. Eventually, the Dybbuk box was sealed away, kept hidden from curious eyes, locked behind glass to prevent anyone from releasing the evil within. It has since become a relic of fear, a cursed object housed with great caution. Paranormal researchers who dare to approach it claim to feel an intense pressure, as if the air around it is vibrating with a dark, pulsating energy, ready to burst forth at the slightest touch. Today, the Dybbuk box stands as a chilling reminder of forces beyond our understanding. Many believe that the box should remain sealed, for to open it is to invite disaster. The warnings are clear. Disturb the Dybbuk box, and you may awaken something ancient, vengeful, and impossible to escape. A spirit that seeks not just to haunt, but to possess and torment anyone who crosses its path. In the shadowed annals of maritime lore lies the chilling tale of the floating coffin of Charles Coghlan, a legend as haunting as the sea that carried it. Charles Coghlan, a celebrated actor born on Prince Edward Island, Canada, met his end far from home on November the 27th, 1899, in Galveston, Texas. His body was interred in a stately vault in Lakeview Cemetery, where it was thought to rest in peace. But the sea had other plans. The following year, in September 1900, the infamous Galveston hurricane struck with apocalyptic fury. Winds howled like banshees, and the surging waves claimed thousands of lives, including the dead already buried in the earth. Among the storm's grisly victims was Coghlan's coffin, torn from its resting place and cast into the raging Gulf waters. For years, nothing was heard of the coffin's fate until a tale began to emerge. One whispered with disbelief and dread. According to legend, the coffin, guided by some unseen hand, or perhaps by Coghlan's unfulfilled yearning for home, drifted through the Gulf of Mexico, up the Atlantic coast, and across the icy waters, eventually washing ashore on the rugged shores of Prince Edward Island. There, it was said, his remains were laid to rest at last in the land of his birth, completing a ghostly journey of thousands of miles. Though modern accounts debunk the fantastical end of the legend, claiming his coffin was discovered in 1907, partially submerged in a marsh just 9 miles from Galveston, the eerie myth endures. Ripley's Believe It or Not immortalised the story in 1929, solidifying its place in folklore. Even now, the tale of Charles Coghlan's floating coffin remains a ghostly reminder of nature's wrath and the strange forces that seem to guide the dead. Whispers linger of his spirit still haunting the restless seas, a man forever tethered to the tides that carried him home. Along the mist-shrouded waters of Wyoming's Platte River, locals whisper of a spectral vessel that has haunted the river for centuries. Known as the Death Ship, This ghostly apparition appears suddenly, cutting through the fog with an unnatural silence that chills even the bravest souls who witness it. Those who have seen it claim it's no ordinary ship, but a cursed harbinger of doom, a warning of death for those unfortunate enough to catch a glimpse of its decaying masts and spectral crew. The ship is said to be a battered, ancient vessel, its once proud sails now tattered and hanging limply, though no wind stirs them. The entire ship glows with an eerie, grey light, casting an unnatural pallor over the river as it moves silently, with no sign of rippling water to mark its path. Its wooden hull appears worn and rotting, covered in strange mosses and barnacles, yet it glides as if untouched by time. Witnesses recount that the ghostly ship seems to be staffed by a crew of shadowy figures, barely distinguishable from the mist that clings to the riverbanks. These phantom sailors stand deathly still, their hollow eyes staring blankly ahead, as though seeing a world beyond the living. The sight of them is enough to paralyze anyone who dares to watch, their forms flickering like candle flames in the fog, silent, yet filled with an overwhelming sense of dread. According to legend, those who see the death ship of the Platte River are destined to witness a death, often their own or that of someone close to them. Stories tell of pioneers and river travellers who encountered the ghostly vessel and soon after met tragic ends. One tale describes a fisherman who spotted the ship gliding down the river on a foggy morning. Mesmerised, he watched as one of the ghostly sailors extended a bony hand and pointed directly at him. Within days the man fell ill, his life draining away under mysterious circumstances. Another chilling account recalls a young couple who were boating on the river at dusk when the ship emerged from the fog. They watched in horror as the crew seemed to look straight through them, their empty eyes filled with a cold indifference to the living. Days later, the couple's bodies were discovered on the riverbank, their boat overturned, and no explanation for their sudden deaths. The death ship of the Platte River is no mere phantom tale. Locals swear by its appearances, warning travellers not to linger by the river when the fog thickens, especially near Alcova and Torrington. It's a grim reminder that some spirits do not rest, and that some waters are forever cursed. The ship drifts onward, a harbinger of death, carrying the souls of its doomed crew, forever bound to the Platte's dark, winding course. In old cemeteries across the United States, there are weathered stone seats hidden among the graves, worn by time and cloaked in shadow. Known ominously as the Devil's Chair, these benches are more than mere sculptures. They are said to be gateways to the supernatural, places where darkness lingers and whispers are heard. Legends warn that those who sit on the Devil's Chair may not leave the same as they arrived, or worse, may never leave at all. One of the most infamous Devil's Chairs is found in a forgotten corner of a small cemetery in Kansas. It's a simple stone seat, cracked and faded, seemingly innocent, yet emanating a disturbing energy. Locals warn against sitting there, especially at night. They say that if you're brave, or foolish, enough to sit on it alone at midnight, the devil himself might appear, a silent figure lurking just beyond the veil of shadows. Some claim he'll offer a dark bargain, while others say he merely watches. His presence a weight upon your chest, stealing your breath. People who've dared to sit on the chair often report eerie phenomena. Some hear whispers, faint and mocking, as if unseen figures surround them. Others describe an overwhelming cold, a chill that seeps into their bones, or a sudden, paralysing feeling of dread. most disturbing accounts come from those who sit alone, feeling an invisible presence pressed down upon them, as if something is slowly wrapping its grip around their shoulders, squeezing them into the stone. More sinister still are the tales of those who sit in the chair only to find themselves haunted afterward. They hear footsteps behind them in empty rooms, see shadowy figures lurking just out of sight, and suffer from night terrors, each dream filled with visions of twisted faces and mocking laughter. Legends say that the chair holds the souls of those who've lingered too long, bound to the stone by their encounter with the dark. Perhaps it is merely a relic of 19th century superstition, or perhaps, as the locals claim, it is a portal where the devil waits patiently, luring the curious and the desperate into his grasp. But one thing remains certain: those who leave the devil's chair rarely forget its chill